Hey, how are you guys doing? I'm Josh, and I'm a part of the Final Project 2017 Fast Challenge MC1, and I'm here to go over 8 quick points with you and how I. Oh, fuck. Hey, how are you guys doing? I'm Josh, and I was a part of the Final Project 2017 Fast Challenge MC1, and I'm here today to go over the 8 points on this board right here. And that's starting with what software was used and why. The software used was Tableau and D3. Those were technically the two softwares that we used. Um, and the reason why is because Dr. Bosun recommended that we use them, as well as we had extensive resources on them, and we were very familiar with them after using those resources that Dr. Bosun supplied. The starting point of the data was pretty interesting as we had the data already sanitized and clean. We just were able to plug that right into Tableau and play around with a whole bunch of various charts, and we figured out some patterns due to this. Once we figured out the patterns, we then later figured out ways to display it and ways we wanted to. So with that, that leads right into rationale for important design decisions. Design decisions such as using D3. We wanted to use D3 because it was a very nice interactive way via the heat map and bar graph, as well as using the web page as a central hub to get to all the information needed. Tableau was also a part of a design choice. It was very easy to use as well as a very effective way of displaying data in a visual way. So that goes into explaining how the visualization interactions helped. So the visualizations interaction helped, especially with the D3, is because the D3, the bar graph up top here that I'm hovering over, has on the x-axis the number of records per year from 2015 to 2016. So if we click on the two-axle car, we get more information about the two-axle car. We see that it has the general gate, the entrance, ranger stop, and camping. And basically, this graph is to compare itself. This is comparing the two-axle car versus itself versus its entrances, its data accumulated with the general gates versus the entrances versus the ranger stop versus the camping. As we could tell here, the two-axle car had a lot of activity in the general gate, while let's say something the Type 2, which is the park ranger car, had a lot of entrances at just the gate versus the general gate, which is, the ranger gates. Anyways, moving on, we'll go to explaining the point of the D3 heat map. The heat map is more of a versus rather than comparing itself. You can do something like the two-axle bus versus the three-axle truck, for example. And you can see like where their points, you can see where the gates are more used by the two-axle bus versus the three-axle truck. That was more of the point of the heat map. And obviously, the point of the tableau was to just notice trends and patterns. Instead of versing each other, you take a whole summary and you're saying, oh man, this looks like it has a lot of activity here opposed to here. So moving on, the explaining the graphs and filters, I believe I just did that. By clicking on the bar graphs, the bars on the bar graph, you can get more information about the type of vehicle, the two-axle, three-axle, the buses. They all work and they all compare into each other. While the filters on here give you a whole comparison of where they're at. And the radius of the circle will get bigger with the more data. And if you go over and you hover over the circle that you want, you also get at the bottom, it says total per year, and it gives you the total records, opposed to on the bar graph, it gives you the total records there. So it's a little bit more accurate and easier to decipher the total records on the heat map versus the bar graph. That helps us move into the anomalies, and I will clump the anomalies with the assumptions made. The anomalies and the assumptions made are pretty much in our top 3 patterns. The weekend activity, the summer activity being very high, and the types of cars that make the most noise, it's a two-axle as it has the most data constantly. And you can see that the summer months right here have the most activity versus the winter months. Now, moving into uncertainties, the uncertainties that we came up with is that During our analysis, we realized that the weekends had a lot of activity, but there was certain day on the weekend, such as Sunday, where it had low activity, and we figured out that the uncertainty and the part of the data that may not be represented is the exiting traffic. It tracks only the entrances, we can say, rather than the exits, due to it having extreme activity during Friday and Saturday, but it has a drop off on Sunday, showing that it probably only tracks one way traffic. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the information I provided for you today, and I hope you stop by our webpage and if you like, click on the Vast Challenge and try it yourself and come up with your own patterns. Okay, have a nice day. Bye bye.